Я считаю, что ровно вот таких специалистов, как в нашей российской культуре, не хватает, экономистов по оценке эффектов и проектов в сфере культуры. Так, мы сегодня говорим про экономику креативности.
Okay, thank you very much. I tried in this presentation, I tried to do all the forward that I have not done this morning. So the title is is the economic analysis for the evaluation of projects. And this morning many of you talk about the importance of find indicators that can explain what is the activity of a museum, and I try to give you some ideas on what we have to take into account when we face with culture and museums. So I wish to start from, please, thank you. Okay, here is my photograph and one. Okay, and I wish to start with yes. This is only Creative Commons. You know what is Creative Commons? Yes, I think yes. You know? Yeah. Okay, fantastic. So this is very important for who work in the creative sector, because it's important to protect the right, but it's important to share. So I think that this trade-off between the protection of right and the importance of sharing is one of the most important things that we have to solve in the next years, in the future, the early future. Well, okay, thank you. I wish to start my presentation with a question. Probably you can answer better than me to this question, but I try always to start from a basic point. So please, can you go to the next? Thank you. This is the econ definition of museum. You know better than me the definition of museum, but I wish to read it, because I think that it's important to refresh what is a museum. So a museum is a non-profit permanent institution in the service of society, and its development open to the public, which acquires, conserves, researches, communicates, and exhibits the tangible and intangible heritage of humanity and its environment for the purpose of education, study, and enjoyment. Well, a lot of things for only one permanent institution. Please, can you? I want to focus only on some words. Okay. The first one, because I am an economist, so the first word that I wish to focus is non-profit. So we manage non-profit organizations. This is very important. Because the no-profit economy is very strongly different from the market economy. So we have to know that we are managing something different. And the thing I wish to focus is the aim of an institution, or this kind of institution. So the education, for example, you know better than me that one of the missions of the museums are to educate people to know the identity of the local community. Is a way of represent the community values. Then I wish to focus on study. So the heritage is not a thing that we have put in a museum and we have there forever, but we have to study it. We have to. So it's not a static. A museum is not static, but is a flowing of things. And the third one is enjoyment. how many of you thinks, probably here we are not the person to do this question, but are you sure that people think that going to a museum they enjoy? Yeah, please. Yeah, please. Okay. So, not at all. No. I think I enjoy when I go to a museum. But many of us, I mean, not between us, but many people probably don't think to enjoyment when go to a museum. And so this is an important thing because is in our mission. Our mission is to enjoy people. So we have to focus on this. So the thing I want to, I am an economist, as I told you. So I am a little bit in the middle. No? I am a man who study numbers and statistics from in one hand, but in the other hand, I am a cultural addicted. So I am in the middle. But I want to show you the economic perspective, also because I think that when we are in a non-profit company, and when we are in a very strange market, as we can see in the next slides, we have to be aware of the tools we have to make people enjoy. Please. Oh, no, okay. This is good. Thank you. So this is probably you have seen this graphic many times. You have ever seen this graphic in your life? No. Yes. But so and so. So this is a typical market. No, we have a demand curve and a supply curve, and also there is a point that we call the economists call equilibrium. No? The point in which everyone is happy and everything is good in the market. But we know that in this period is more clear that the market doesn't function very well always. Sometimes there are some problems. We are not all happy. There are poor, there are rich, there are too much poor and too much richer. So it's not so. It's not the equilibrium the point that is important for our life. So I wish to introduce you a concept of market failure. So are the situations in which the market rules are not not efficient. Yes, are not. The rule doesn't work. Okay. Well, we have a lot of market failures, as you can see, the public goods, the externality, the asymmetries in the information, the adverse selection, and the moral hazard. But I don't want to do a lesson on economics, so we focus only on the first two, the public goods and the externalities. For example, many places in the world in this period, there are a lot of people that are occupying something. No? Occupying Wall Street. In Italy, we have a lot of theaters that are occupied. One in Rome is very famous. The Teatro Valle is very famous because there are people that from June are occupying the theater and they are managing it without permission. And there are a lot of occupied institutions in Italy in this moment. So. And they talk about public goods, please. And they call these goods, so theater is a good, common, no? The common goods. So I wish to show you what is a common good, please. Okay, well, no, wait, no, I'm wrong. I wish to see, to show you what is the problem with cultural goods. One of the problems is that we have two kinds of costs in a normal market. Please. The first one, we call it fixed cost. So the cost that doesn't change with the volume of production. If I have only one attendant to my play, or if I have 200 attendants, the cost of that play is the same. It doesn't change. If in your museum you have a lot of people that comes, or you have only one, you have to pay electricity, you have to pay for the collection, you have to pay for the people that would work every day in your museum. The second type of cost is the variable cost, so the cost that changes with the volume of production. And for the cultural sector, it's very difficult to find variable costs. So cost that depends on the people I have in my museums. I think that are very, very little this type of cost. And this have a lot of consequence in the market. Please, if you go to the other slide. So now we point to the public goods. Okay, you can go. And what is a public good? What is a common? There are a lot of examples. For example, the chair in the park, not the chair, the bench in the park are typical common goods. We can sit there, and we cannot pay for the services. But how many of you, with your own money, will buy a bench to put it in a park? Probably no one of us make. Not probably, surely, because it is a public good. Because and it's the same of a museum. How many of you, with your money, will do a museum that you have only fixed cost? Probably, no. So it's impossible for a private person or for a private company to do and to manage a museum, because it's a public good. Please, if you go to the other slide, the other one, because it is it's impossible to exclude a person from consumption. If I eat an apple, I exclude someone to eat the same apple. If I watch a masterpiece in your museum, I am not excluding no one to see this in the same moment, the same masterpiece. So this is an important characteristic of economic characteristic of our institution. The second characteristic is that is non-rivalrous. So it's not. I cannot preclude another person to consume the same good. And this is another question. It's the same problem of the bench. If I sit in the bench, I don't want to sit in the same bench. Okay, 3-4 persons. The fifth have to wait. But these are the economic characteristics of common goods. Well, the other. Okay, this is the graphic that is changed. The other was different because the supply curve was growing. Now is flat because of there are a lot of mathematical expression to have this graphic. But what we have to what is clear that cultural goods, the supply of cultural goods, are something that we can choose the level in some way. If I have only one bench in the park, I can have this price. If I have other bench, if I want to put 100 bench, probably the price of the bench will be different. Not probably, the price will be different. So, as you can see, we are not talking about the consequences of mathematical consequences of this graphic, but as you can see, it's very different from the other we have seen. The other that we have seen, it was a market, a typical market. This is a market of culture that is very different because in some way the public power can choose the level of public goods that you want to supply, that you want to produce. And on the demand side, we can see that we can choose how many people comes to our museum, for example. If the government gives, okay, for example, this is the price of the ticket, okay? If the government wants to have more attendance, he can have a lower price. So as you can see, if I put this level less, I have more attendance. This is the quantity of people that comes, no? If this is lower, I have more attendance. So it's easier for the public power to say how many people have to come to my museum. Well, so, but the important thing is to understand that our market is very different from the general market. And we have to be aware of this because all the things we do have an impact differently from a normal market. Okay, thank you. Another thing that I think is very, very important is the externalities. So what are the externalities? I don't know, I know that I have a very difficult task because to talk after the lunch is very difficult for me, and I think that it's difficult also for you. So I try to be light. So what are the and so we are talking about economics after lunch. So it's very. What are the externalities? Please, thank you. Externality are, okay, the word is clear, are external effects in which no one pays for the transaction. There are two types of externalities. The positive one, I am a little bit romantic, so I say the bees and the flowers. And the negative one, okay, come back, okay. In this way, the pollution is very bad. Why the bees and the flowers? If I am a beekeeper and I have a friend of mine that is a florist, my bees will come to the field of flower and will pollinate it, and then they come back to my field and produce honey. So I have not paid for this. And my friend florists have not paid for the pollination. So this is an externalities. Or do you think that in the cultural market there are externalities? Positive externalities? Yes, the answer is yes. Because when I go to a museum and then I come back home, probably I am richer because I have seen a lot of things that makes me understand better the world. No? So this is a typical externalities. I learn something that makes me able to understand other things. It's like the instruction or the education. So we are producing not only attendance, but we are producing externalities, positive externalities. Another externalities that may be more interesting is the value, for example, of the buildings that are near a theater. So if you watch the price of houses are usually higher near a museum or near a theater or near something cultural or near a stadium too. Yeah? Probably a stadium not so much because there are a lot of people that go to a stadium, so it may be noisy. But this is an externality. It's an external effect. We buy a house that has a value more important only because it's near a museum or is near a theater. And I don't know in Russian, but in Italy, this kind of externality is very hard. In many places, we see that the house value is higher, but it's much more, is very high. Another positive externalities may be of culture. Maybe, do you have ever said, this book changed my life? This is a positive externality. You have not bought that book because of you want to change your life, but you have done it. So this is a positive externalities, for example, and it's something that you are not paying. Okay, it's not in the market. We have seen in the first slide. There are someone that is buying something and someone that is selling something. Here we are not selling externalities. No one pays for this transaction. And this is a very important thing when we face with our politicians that tend to give money to our institutions. We have to be able to count the externalities. We have to be able to understand how many externalities we have done in our local community. Because of that is the value of, is part, obviously, of the value of our institution. Okay, thank you. Okay, the negative one is the pollution, but we have not negative externalities. This is another good thing of our market. For example, another positive effect of culture is on the crime. If you live near a theater or near a museum, the crime level is lower. And this is another statistic that you can find easily. Obviously, here no one is paying for this service, and we are saving a lot of money because we are not spending for policies. No, so is something that we are saving. A friend of mine in Rome makes a cultural guided tour for madmen, for crazy people. And after 2 years, these people learn how they have not to smoke in public. They now are learning how to cook. They are more autonomous than first. So culture makes them more efficient. So how many money the hospitals have saved thanks to a guided tour? So as you can see, we cannot have we should internalize the externalities to have the value of our cultural institution. And well, so now we change a little bit the subject. And why we should have, how many time I have? 45 minutes. 45 minutes? Okay, okay. Okay, as you can see, what is better for a cultural institution? How is better to manage it? In this period, in which resources are less than 10 years ago, or probably not in Russian, but in Europe and in the States. In the United States are very less. has very little resources for the cultural sector, we can extract the value of culture, linking the institution, linking the cultural system, making a system. Because if we produce externalities, we can internalize the value only if we link our institution with the one that reach the externality we produce. So working in cluster, in cultural district, is important because we can give a good job with other institutions that work in our territory. So this implies a strong cooperation. So we have to start to think that our job should be in cooperation with, and not only about a self-made, shaped work. So we need, for example, not only cooperation among different cultural institutions, but also a good local policy design. The design in the cultural sector, the local public action design is another kind of design. But we need infrastructure. Think about, for example, now, I don't know if the Russian Museum are involved in Facebook or something of this kind of new communication technologies. But if we have not a good and fast internet line, we cannot have the Facebook page, for example, or other things. It's more costly, so we cannot have the resource to. If we work in network, we can share the cost, so it's better. In Italy, we are very strongly studied this kind of cultural district. Also because, please, can you? Also because we have a tradition of industrial districts. And only to give you the highlight, what are the conditions to build an industrial district? For example, we need a lot of small and medium-sized enterprise, and most of the cultural companies are small and medium-sized. We need a high degree of specialization, and most of the people that works in the museums are very high specialized. We need a high flexibility in work allocation. A lot of people that works in the field of culture is very flexible. Think about the theater companies. Many of the people that works in the theater are very flexible, can do a lot of things. Not only the actor, not only the technique, but many things. So it's it's flexible also because he doesn't work all the year, but he works for some periods. Another condition is the horizontal competition and the integration with vertical market. What does it mean? That if we are in competition with another museum, the competition because if I go to the Modern Art Museum, I cannot go at the same time to another museum, so it's in competition the choice to go to one or another museum. We can have a vertical integration of services, for example. If I have to build a system to sell online the tickets, it's better to have the same internet platform to sell the tickets. And this is a kind of vertical integration. So in many industrial districts, there are a lot of companies, for example, that put together the research and development, because it's important for the one for the small enterprise, but may be important for the other one, and they share the cost of research, for example. And then the other one that is very nice in Italy is one of the most important things, I think of the industrial district, is the low transaction cost in the transmission of information. Written like this, it seems like a very important thing, but the significance is that I go to a bar, I meet a colleague of another company, and we share information about our job. And so the fact that you are all here is a sort of low transaction cost. You can share in this moment your opinion, and you can share your experience, and this is free. There is not a cost for this. So, a little, I try to give you the short version of, of industrial districts, because we are interested in cultural districts. So please, can you, what are cultural districts? In Italy we have an important professor called Walter Sant'Agata, that is one of the most important professors that studied cultural districts, but obviously industrial districts. Please. And here are the 9 conditions for cultural districts. Okay, the first one, okay, can you go? The first one is a local community that should be cohesive in the cultural tradition, for example, that has an accumulation of knowledge and has a social capital that trusts in cooperation. So I don't know if Russians are cooperative or if are, but this is one of the conditions to make a cultural district. This morning we have seen the cultural district of Vienna, and if you study that case, you can realize that all these conditions are true. So the local community is important not only because we have to do service for cultural service for the local community, but also because they have some strong tradition. This is the importance. This is one of the important things in a cultural district. Think about If I say Naples, probably you think about mandolino, you think about song, no? Naples and songs are very similar to, because there is a strong tradition, and it's a cultural tradition to sing in the street. It's not always, you cannot find it everywhere, but in this case I think it's a very strong cultural tradition, and there are a lot of cultural traditions. For example, one of the industrial and cultural districts in Italy is the one in Caltagirone. This is for ceramic. There are a lot of small enterprises, and there are a lot of handcrafts that makes ceramic with beautiful design. Please can you. The second is a dense interaction between cities and country. So the importance of transportation, for example, but the importance of the exchange. Where there is the manpower and where the district feels. For example, one of the films that we know, the Italian films that we know, is in the field of fashion. We have a lot of fashion companies that works in Italy, and the name of Armani is all the world is famous because it can find a lot of people that knows, that has a strong knowledge, and that lives there, and that can do that kind of product. Now they do it in Albania or in China, but it's similar. when they were a district, this was one of the considerations. a significant development of scale return. So it means that we have to develop a strategy for the better quantity production. So to have a lot of small enterprises that work in network can be flexible, and so we can shape the scale of production in a right way, an efficient way. Okay? A low level of standardization. We have a very lower level of standardization in the cultural products because there are not similar products in our everyday life. Okay? This is another important condition that many economists forget. We have to build a society in which there are a lot of savings, and or with a bank system that is able to finance these enterprises, because often they are little, they are small or medium, and it's not easy to manage a small medium enterprise, especially in the cultural sector, without a bank system, an efficient bank system. So in Italy we have, I don't know if in Russian too, we have a lot of cooperative banks that are local banks that knows very well people. Is the same thing that go to the bar and talk with the people that they have to finance. And this is a very important thing. It's a low cost of information too. Please. Yes, the openness with the international market is another condition. This means, for example, that one of you this morning talked about tourism. I went here, this is the second time that I am here in Moscow, and I know that I don't speak Russian. I went to 2 museums, and it was difficult to have information because no one speaks Russian, speaks English in the museum I have seen. So this is a very important problem, because if you want to be open, you should talk, you should communicate also in other language. Okay, you cannot learn all the language of the world, but you can produce a paper in which I can read in Italian what that museum are exhibiting. Okay? We have seen that the importance of public support and the creation of the financial support of the public sector is very important, because, for example, there are a lot of statistics in Europe that demonstrate that if the public support culture, also the private sector support it. If the state or the government cut money to culture, the private sector starts to cut it too. So there is not a process of substitution between public and private financing. This is another important thing, as is the right of birth of new fields. For example, one of the most famous industrial districts is the Silicon Valley. It's a place in which we find Google, we find Intel, we find a lot of companies specialized in informatics and product for the informatics. And so there are a lot of companies that born every day there. Okay. And finally, the ability to be district-minded. So we have to start to think, if we want to build a cultural district, we have to be able to cooperate with other persons. We have to start to become a local system, so a system in which the relations are clear, are strong, and produce positive externalities. in design, technological innovation, organization, new products. We have a lot of new products here. So we are shaped like a cultural district sometimes. Labor market flexibility and commercial distribution. Here, more of these things is here in this moment. Please. Okay, so if we have all these conditions, we can have a cultural district. But I wish to talk, next one, thank you. I wish to talk to why we have to build networks. There are some opportunities and there are some constraints too. In the opportunity side, I wrote, but I can write more and more. For example, to optimize source. And source may mean, sources may mean, I don't know, financial source, but also personnel. If I have two museums in my city and I manage it together, if in one I have, I don't know, an exhibition very important, I can take a person from the one museum and take in the other one for the period it needs. So this may be a sort of optimization of sources. Or if I have a lot of financial income in one museum, I can finance the other one in the period is not financial resources. We can give different service to visitors if we work in a network, if we work together. Also because we share the cost. For example, we have seen the ticket service online. We can give the guided tour with sharing the person that do it. We can do the audio guide tour because it's possible to share the cost of the infrastructure. But the important thing is to exchange different experience. If you work together with another cultural institution, you can learn how they work, and they can learn how you work. So it's important to exchange different experience because it's the cost of information that we have seen that is important to make low. Another point is to learn how to work together. It is not always easy. And the last one, but is not the last, is to empower the funding policies. If I work with 100 museums, and I have a network of 100 museums, when I go to the minister, I say, okay, I am the person who manages 100 museums, so you have to listen to me, and you have to finance me, because I represent a lot of people. So to work together means also to have a contractual power with your financier. What are the constraints? Here I can write more. We lose power because we have to share the power with other institutions. We have less competition. This may be not always good. We can have auditing process. So if I have a funding policy and another museum has another funding policy, I want to know how they spend money and they want to know how I spend it. So it's important to have an audit, to control each other. But it may be a little bit not so good that I have to be controlled from another one. So it's better to we don't do a network for this reason. Okay, thank you. Well, but what is the creative industries and what are the cultural industries? In this graphic I don't agree with this classification, but it's the official one, from the UNCTAD, United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. I remember the name. And this is the classification they have done of the creative industry. Please, if you can go with zoom on the first one. The second one, thank you. Okay. First, the first sector is cultural sites, archaeological sites, museums, libraries, exhibitions, etc. Okay. The second one is visual arts, painting, sculpture, photography, antiquities, okay. Traditional expression, for example, arts and crafts, festivals, celebration, also religious celebration may be in the cultural side, in the cultural sector, creative sector. Publishing, printed media, book, press, other, okay. Performing arts like music, theater, dance, opera, circus, puppetry, okay. Audiovisual, film, television, radio, audio broadcasting. And we can say that this, this one, we can call it cultural domain. So these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sectors, we can say that are the cultural domain. What we call creative industries, and why we call it, for example, new media, video games, the video games industry is a typical industry that is in the cultural and creative sector. The digitalized Creative Commons, the software is another important sector. Please. The services, like architecture, the advertising sector, the creative research and development, the recreation, the cultural recreation. And last but not least, please, the design, for example, the toys, jewelry, fashion, graphic, interiors. Some of these sectors really are cultural sector, not only creative. One thing that I wish to show you, please, in the other one, if we come back to the general picture, we see that there are a lot of different activities, very different activities. For an economist that want to analyze the automotive sector, I know that there are the industry of glass, the industry of clock, the industry of wheel, but I know as an economist that they have they have the same product process. If I watch this kind of picture, I saw that there is not the same process to produce software and to produce archaeological sites. Is very different, is strongly different. It's different to produce jewels and, I don't know, movies or live music or books or a celebration. There are a lot of things different. And so for an economist to analyze this sector is very difficult because he has to change the methodology in every moment, in every single things he focus. Well, where is the connection between, I don't know, museums and creativity, please? Well, now I try to give you some ideas on what is the relation between this different thing, please. Now we see museums, okay. The connection with sculpture may be easy. Also with painting, it may be easy. In a museum we have paintings. But it's not easy, for example, with the advertising. What is the connection between a museum and advertising? Please. Here we have an example. It's not very easy, but here we have a sculpture in Paris, 1548 about. Here we have a paintings in the Musée d'Orsay in Paris. And here we have an advertising of Coco Chanel. Or I am not, I am an economist, I am not an art historian, so it's not my job. But I see that it's about the same icon. It's about the same image in 500 years about. So this is important, not only also because this is a commercial a thing that makes money, no? This makes money, these two don't make money. But it's important because, for me, the thing I want to share now, is important because if we lost this one, if we destroy this part of this picture, probably we destroy this one. We have not this one. And so we have not this one. So our inspiration now depends functionally on what we have saved of our traditions. So what we do now is part of our background. So this photographer probably had studied artist history. Please, can you go to another one? And I wish to show you the difference, the connection between press, for example, or publication, and the advertising, please, or with museums. So three sectors so different. Okay, well, this is very politically incorrect because I put this image. She's Martina Colombari, an Italian actress, very famous in Italy, and she's very nice too. And if you put this picture near this one, it's not politically incorrect. The photographer here surely knows that one, and probably studied this image thanks to that one. So it's the same thing of the culture is part of our life, and we have in this kind of image, it seems that there are no relation with the past years, and it's not like this. We invent every day, we change every day, but the image is similar. So, if that was politically incorrect, Raffaello was not. No, sorry. Botticelli was not. Or was politically incorrect Botticelli too? Okay, thank you. That is the site, internet website, in which you can find a lot of these examples. It's in Italian, and I think is in Latin too. So, because it's a site an internet site in which they put humanities and internet. So they translate everything, I think, in English probably and in Latin too. So you can find more example of this. Okay, and this is another example of the connection between archaeological sites, for example, and digitalized creative contents or software. Please. This is a commercial. Sorry. There is internet? No. Probably is. There is no sound, but it's not important the sound because it's in Italian. So. Okay, it's this is a commercial of my region. Okay, sorry for the. But the first thing I have said when I watched the first time this video is that the sculpture want to escape from the museum. The Riace bronze want to go out of the museum, And it's nice because you can see the tradition, the archaeological side, the importance of conservation, the new technology applied to a cultural site, or in this case it's a promotional event. But there are a lot of apps for iPhone or for other devices that reconstruction. I have one in my iPhone that if you go to the Roman Forum, you can see it in 3D when you it's very incredible. And so it's a new technology applied to cultural goods, in this case to archaeology. Okay, thank you. Well, when we talk about creativity, there are different perspectives, and so this is probably the hard part of my presentation. The first one is the historical one, is by Richard Florida. Please, can you go? Okay. And it's important because it's one of the first theory on creativity. And he called this model the 3T model because of the talent, the technology, and the tolerance. So the societies, the communities that have technology, that knows how to use technologies, that are tolerant, and that promote talents, are the societies that grow faster in the global competition. One of the example is I don't know, Bilbao, for example, or most of the American cities in the north of America are tolerant because there are a lot of population, that there is a mashup of populations, and they use very well technologies and promote talent. The second model that we are analyzing is the so-called 5 pillars of creativity, in which we have 5 sectors important to analyze for the creative sector. That is human capital, openness, diversity, the cultural environment, the technology, and the institutional environment. And the third model we will see is so-called 5C model, or 5C and output, in which we have structural and institutional capital, human capital, social capital, cultural capital, and the outcomes, the output of creativity. Please, well, we have to analyze a sector, we have to focus on 3 aspects. The first one is the production of creativity. So it's important to produce new culture. As you've seen, we have Botticelli, but we have also the photographer that produce new culture in some way. We have to build a system of distribution of the culture we produce. And we have to stimulate the consumption. So probably the policy you are doing here to link the financial resources with the attendance of your museum may be important, because you will do policies to implement your visitors, and so implementing it, you will have more sources. So you are acting on this kind of this part of the value chain. So we cannot imagine to have a society that don't produce culture. It's impossible to think like this. And so, but if we produce culture, we have the duty of distribution, and we have the duty to find people that come and see it. Okay. Here I have another movie. Do you remember? It's long. Yeah. This is a sort of value chain, no? There is something that happens and something that happens and something that happens. Okay, this movie is about 45 minutes. Probably we have to stop now. But it's important to say that probably in the value chain we have only to do the first step. We don't need to do everything. Many things goes without no one that start the process. We have to start the process. The policy, the cultural policy, means to start processes more than to guide it. To start process. Okay, thank you. The other. Okay.
Эта работа была Фишли и Вайса, очень замечательная, просто можно ее посмотреть в интернете. Она минут 45 действительно.
Okay. Now we finish talking about cultural statistics. Well, it's not easy to talk about cultural statistics because this morning I saw that it's difficult to understand what is the number of attendance. People who come, people who buy the ticket but doesn't visit, are attended or not? People that attend but doesn't understand anything, are attended or not? So it's very difficult to understand if that parameter is a good parameter. And for example, in Italy, there are a lot of journalists, I don't know why, they say that we have the 60% of cultural heritage, world culture, all in Italy. Do you think that is true, this? Yeah? She said that. No, she said no. I agree with you. Please, the second one? The trouble is, what does it mean, 60% of cultural heritage? It means that a Colosseum is the same of two St. Basil Cathedral or two pyramids. It's impossible to understand what it means 60% of. So this is an example to show you why is how is important to have good statistics, not only numbers, but in good statistics on the information that we need, not information that we don't need. Because there are a lot of statistics that we don't need. And there are a lot of things that we need and we don't have. Okay, next one. So, this is first an important forward to this last, no, probably not last, but in the end of my speech. The approach we have seen, the Florida, the 5C, the 5 pillars, and so on, is become a model to analyze the creative sector. The first we will see is the Euro Creativity Index, please, in which there is 3 kinds of indicators, the same of the 3T model, no? The Euro Talent Index, the Euro Technology Index, and the Euro Tolerance Index. Please, if we go to the Euro Talent Index, one of the parameter employment in the creative sector. Human Capital Index is the measurement of percentage of population with a bachelor's degree or above. Thank you. Scientific talent index is the number of scientists, researchers, engineers for 1,000 workers. So as you can see, it's very important to collect the right data. If we go to the Euro Technology Index, we can say the innovation index is number of patents for 1 million of population. The high-tech innovation index, the number of patents in high-tech for 1 million population. And the research and development index, that is the expenditure as a percentage of gross domestic products. And the last one is the Euro Tolerance Index. That it may be the measurement of people with attitude towards minorities or socioeconomic aspects. So, for example, religion, authority, women's rights, family rights, abortion, homosexuality rights, or homosexual rights, divorce, and etc. One of the index used by Florida, one of the first time, was the gay index. So to understand how people accept the presence of gay in a society. And another important indicator is self-expression index. So it's the measurement of attitude towards democracy, quality of life, culture, entertainment, and so on, and etc. This is the first example in which the economists try to measure the creativity in a city. In the story, there are other systems, there are other is developed, that model had developed, and we have now another one. The human capital is measured by the number of hours dedicated to art and culture, for example, in the primary and secondary schools. This is an important parameter to evaluate the human capital. If I teach arts, probably they will go to museum when they become autonomous. The number of art schools may be another indicator. The number of students in cultural-related sector, or the cultural employment, is one of important to value the human capital. As you can see, I see in the first slide I talked to you about externalities, the importance of culture. This is one of the most important externalities, to have people that are cultural related, that study cultural related sectors, or schools per millions, art schools. Please, the other one. The openness and diversity is measured by population with, towards attitude toward minority, interest in culture and art. For example, the market share of non-national movies. I will add, for example, another indicator that may be the number of foreigner art director. I don't know if in Russia you have a foreigner art director, a friends that. This is not a joke, because if you think about Obama, is the son of how to say, a foreigner, no? He was okay. Please? Kenya. And it's the same for Sarkozy. So, the president of a nation that is son of a person who is not born there. So it's very open. It's the openness and diversity is a value of that population. No, more than Italians. You have seen an Italian black. Okay, pluralism, share of foreign workers in the cultural employment. Okay, foreign workers, for example. You know that in Canada there is an important circus that you know surely, that is name is? Cirque du Soleil, okay. Le Cirque du Soleil, if you go to the internet website, they write that they speak about 200 different language, in the same headquarter. And they have more than, I think, 22 shows in 22 different countries. This is a very important value, I think. More important than the financing of the public finance on culture. Please. Okay, the cultural environment. I go faster because we have no time. Okay, the annual expenditure, the population that attends cultural activities, the number of public theater, museums, concert hall or cinema are all indicators of the supply side of the cultural market. Please. The technology, the penetration rate of broadband, how many people has personal computers or video games console? What is the tax break for artists, for example, is another important thing of policy. What is the VAT rate on books or press or other things or some recordings? Okay, next one. You can see this presentation online, so if you want to go in deep, you can do it. And the last one is institutional environment, so the turnover on industries per capita, music industry, book industry, cinema, the value added as percent of GDP and so on. Well, the last one, model and then you can hire me, is the Hong Kong Creativity Index. That, as you can see, has a lot of different indexes, and for each one there are a lot of parameters, so we saw only the title because it is too long. The first one is the structural and institutional capital, okay, that is made by the legal system, then the other. The freedom is important to have a freedom society, to have a good creative environment and a good creative production. The technologies, information communication technologies, okay. The infrastructure, social and cultural infrastructure. The financial infrastructure and the entrepreneurship is another. The cultural capital, for example, the respect of norm and values is important for the cultural capital. The expenditure and the financing culture. The participation. So, you are pointing on the participation on your museums. Is right to have this kind of parameters, but probably in a wider one, in a more, an index complex is not only a number that can explain, that can tell us the importance of that cultural institution. Okay? The social capital, okay? Okay, the development of social capital is important. So it's not only a stock, but is a flow of development in time. For example, it is interesting the total number of non-governative company. So the ability to share is part of our social capital. Please. Okay, trust, okay. Human capital, okay, I think is the last. For yes, the research and development expenditure, the knowledge, how people have skill, how many people have the skill, the mobility, And the last is the output, how to measure the output of creativity, okay? Towards the economic contribution, for example, so the added value on GDP and so on, and with the incentive activities, so local enterprise to sell. As I told you, the distribution, the consumption is important because we have to produce, but we have to do people to see what we produce. Okay, in the last slide, I think, yes, there is another, and I have finished it, this is the last one. Another approach that I call a microeconomic approach. This is very a new approach, so it's not easy to find the same deep indicators. But we can say how many stakeholders are in a company, in a creative company, in a cultural institution. We have internal stakeholders, so manager, you, the workers, the owners, the administrators. Many of the problems this morning you have put on the discussion was about workers, about managers, about administrators. So they are all stakeholders of our community, but stakeholders of your institution. And there are the so-called external stakeholders, so the providers, the community, the entrepreneur, the public bodies, and so on, sponsor, press, and so tourists. The last one is tourists. And so as you can see, there are a lot of people that has interest in our creative company, cultural company, and we have to be able to give them what they need if we want to have a strong impact on our community. Okay, I think this is the last. Okay, it is only the Zoom. Okay. Yes, this the photograph I saw you is thanks to a friend of mine that have done part of the job. Is Federica Bellati. Thank you very much.